Infinity Train. It's a good show. If you haven't watched it yet, you should. But if you're on the fence about it, hopefully this video will convince you to take a look at the show. This video will be spoiler-free review, okay? What's the point of watching a review or like a recommendation if there's gonna be spoilers? Alright, so with that out of the way, here is my spoiler-free review of Infinity Train. This show is very, very good if you haven't kind of guessed by the way I'm freaking out about it. It's different from most serialized storytelling since it's an anthology. Each season follows a different character and a different storyline. However, when you watch the show as a whole, it feels more connected despite following different characters each time. So, we're going to start off with Book 1. Book 1 follows the passenger Tulip along with two denizens, 1-1 and Atticus. Tulip has a lot of depth that we get to see within like the first couple episodes. She's smart, hot-headed, logical, but loyal. Within the first few episodes, you see her approach to quite a few different situations, and it all feels natural and builds on her character very well. 1-1 and Atticus are perfect companions for Tulip. 1-1 mostly holding a lot of the comic relief with a lot of dark humor thrown around, and Atticus, oddly enough, he's the straight man of the group. He helps him stay focused and is very supportive to the rest of the crew. Each character feels very, very solid and well thought out. For a 10-episode season with 11-minute length, it's very shocking how well these characters are developed and how satisfying they feel. Their stories start and end within a short period of time, and it all feels very satisfying. Book 1's plot is very simple. Since we know nothing about the train, the goal of the season is to find the conductor and get Tulip home. Through this, we get an understanding of the number on Tulip's hand. What does it mean? Why does it change? The mystery of the season is very engaging. As the audience, we seek the same answers as Tulip, and finding the conductor on the train seems to be the solution. As the train is explored, we get more questions, and it all builds up towards one character. The number on Tulip's hand is a great way to keep the plot moving since it shows progress. Very clearly, the number goes up and down depending on certain things and different actions. I've never paid more attention to hands in my whole life. It is amazing how a number is such a huge focal point for the show. I found myself constantly watching the number and Tulip's hand whenever it was on screen, just to see if it changed. Combine this with the mystery surrounding the conductor, and it turns this simple plot into something very engaging. Book 1 set the tone and pace for the rest of the show. It's funny with an enticing mystery and a surprising amount of depth and exploration of dark subjects. This is a perfect start to the series. With amazing characters and engaging plot, Infinity Train Book 1 is not only a great start to the series, but a standalone story as well. Alright, okay, so Book 2. Book 2 focuses on the denizen Chrome Girl, MT, the passenger, Jesse, and the superpowered deer, Alan Dracula. Jesse and MT have an amazing dynamic. Jesse is a sweet guy who tries too hard to be a people pleaser, and MT is a hot-headed and brash who wants to be independent. Seeing these characters grow really makes this one of the best seasons in the show. Their dynamic is perfect, and I think on its own, it keeps the season engaging. Both characters approach each situation they're in different ways, making each episode and each car they tackle super interesting. Jesse and MT are a great duo and are one of the reasons why this season works super well, and the plot is just icing on the cake. The plot for this season starts out just as simple. MT is trying to help Jesse get his number down to 0 so he can leave the train. The plot gets much deeper than this as the season continues. However, due to this being a spoiler-free review, I don't want to discuss this now. I will say that this book is just as much MT's story as it is Jesse's. The plot and the characters of the season work very well. This season also tackles deep subjects as well, which leads to a very satisfying conclusion. It continues to build on the mysteries of the train, even if this season wasn't totally focused on it. We get a very well balanced season with a very satisfying conclusion. I will say, this season's pacing feels a lot faster than book 1's, but that is the only complaint I have here. This is the most solid book out of all the 4. Book 3 has the most characters in our main crew than all 4 seasons. It follows the passengers Grace and Simon, leaders of the Apex. I don't want to dive too much into the Apex due to this being, but they seem to think the train is made for the humans to take over. The other 2 characters are Hazel and Tuba. Grace is a strong and confident leader. Simon is also a confident leader who places a lot of trust in his friend Grace. This is in contrast to Hazel and Tuba. Hazel is a sweet young girl who, much like other kids her age, sees life and positivity in everything. Tuba is a gorilla who cares for Hazel, kind of like a mother figure. She is very protective over Hazel, and when they bump into Simon and Grace, Tuba is very cautious around them. She doesn't trust them very much. This group constantly pulls and tugs at each other. Grace and Simon share an overall disinterest and disrespect for the train, while Hazel and Tuba seem to go throughout the train, enjoying what it has to offer and taking it all in. Watching this crew react to their surroundings creates a very tense energy since they have such opposing views on the same world. The Apex and Hazel play such a huge role in this season. Unlike book 1 and 2, the plot is not simple out of the gate. The idea is to get back to the Apex, but things quickly spiral out of control as the season runs on. This is the darkest book out of all the 4 by far. Many dark and deep subjects are explored in this book. This book feels like a more refined vision of what Infinity Train is supposed to be. With the amount of character exploration and darker tone and plot, it really feels like this is what Owen Dennis and the crew have been working towards. There is also a fair bit of train lore in this book. We learn a lot of new things about the train and even get to see some familiar faces. The plot in this book has so much to offer and makes Infinity Train feel more lived in. Book 3 offers a darker and deeper tone, with amazing characters and a plot that builds on the world and its future. This is the biggest season yet. Sadly, I feel that Book 3 has some pacing issues. Close to the end of the season, things start to feel quite rushed, and the final episode, while very good, has some things that probably could have been ironed out. Overall, this season is right behind Book 2 in my opinion. It has so much goodness in it that I did not expect to receive, and it does so much to build on this mysterious world. Book 4 follows 3 characters again, just like in books 1 and 2. The passengers, Ryan and Min-gi, as well as the denizen and companion, Kez. Ryan is an upbeat teen with big dreams of being a rock star. Min-gi is more reserved and he takes a more grounded approach to his life in comparison to Ryan. However, he also shares the dream of being a rock star. Kez is a mischievous belle with a heart to help. These characters work together, and with Kez as their guide, Ryan and Min-gi end up having to work together more despite their apparent problems. Their issue is a little bit more vague than the other characters we have seen so far, but this doesn't make the book any less intriguing, as their numbers seem to be linked. Also, Ryan and Min-gi are a blast to get to know. Both have interesting personalities that you try to unpack as you watch this season. Their relationship is a bit tense, but Kez is around to keep this season lighthearted with her brash and sometimes confusing take on everything that happens. I ended up loving the crew for this season more than I thought I would. I think the season's lighthearted approach keeps things loose, meaning we're able to have more jokes and playful character moments. Like I've already said, this is a much lighter season compared to Book 3. There aren't any dark underlying themes in this season. Instead, we get something more akin to Book 1. The plot is much simpler in this season. Each season's plot got more complicated as it went on. However, this season keeps things pretty simple. Ryan and Min-gi are just trying to find their way off the train. Just like the other books, there is some mystery in this season. However, instead of it surrounding the train, the mystery is more surrounding Kez. We also get a bit of lore about the train, however, not as much as I would have liked, but it's still very interesting nonetheless. I really like this season. Its simple focus on Ryan and Min-gi really worked in its favor. I love the depth these two characters had, and how their problems weren't so easy to solve. It was more complicated than I expected, and it kept me watching. I wanted to see how things worked for these characters, and I was happy with how things turned out in the end. The pacing is this show's biggest hurdle, and I feel like this season was paced super well. Nothing felt too rushed, and it was all well deserving, though the last episode had some writing cliches that I wasn't too fond of. I kinda expected more from the writers, but it does not ruin the season for me in the slightest. Overall, Book 4, while lighthearted, is very, very well done. So, if I were to rank each book from best to worst, I would put Book 2 at the top, Book 3 afterwards, Book 1, and then Book 4. All these books are great, and they don't suffer from the majority of issues that haunt current modern day cartoons. The pacing is the biggest problem I need to point out, just because of how much of a role it plays on the show. It's a shame to see the show fail in this aspect, but there really isn't much more you can do. I love this show, and it's such a huge shame that it has been cancelled. But there's still hope. If you were interested enough in this show to listen to my opinion on it, then you owe it to yourself to go watch the show. This show was greenlit because of fan outcry, and we aren't going to stop until we see this show end the way it's supposed to. So go watch the show on HBO Max. Go draw fan art, make music, talk about the show with people, use the hashtags, let Cartoon Network and HBO know that this show needs to be brought back. Let them know that you want more Infinity Train. As of writing this, Owen Dennis tweeted this out, talking about and spreading awareness of Infinity Train works. You guys are killing it. This gives me so much hope. I'm not too sure what this means. Maybe it means the show has received more views on HBO Max. Maybe it means Cartoon Network is thinking about bringing back the show with all the love and support they see. I don't know, but I love the show and what it's doing for the animation industry. We cannot let it end here. I'm doing this to spread the word and encourage people to watch this amazing show. So do yourself a favor, go watch this show, draw about this show, talk about this show, and be positive. Let's do our best to bring Infinity Train back. Thanks so much for watching.